Komenda here. I have a fun layout for you today. It's a birthday page filled with numbers. I'm going to use three new number die sets from scrapbook.com. They are called Tall Skinny, Classic Type, and Bold Basic, and they are like complementary numbers to previously released alpha sets, so they were missing there, and scrapbook.com decided to release the numbers only two. And I I cut it out a lot of eights, only eights, all three fonts that I got, and watercolor paper, and a lot of rolling through die cutting machine, and I cut it out eights, like a bowl full of eights, because I will be making page about our 8th birthday of my younger daughter. So I have a giant 8 cut it out with pattern paper using my Silhouette Cameo, and a bunch of smaller 8s that will go to the background. I'm very softly tracing the 8 on the background, because I want to know where not to glue down the 8s, because it's pointless if they would have to be covered by the pattern paper. I have 12 by 12 watercolor background sheet because I will add a lot of moisture, so it's important to have like liquid resistance paper here, and I am gluing down all the 8s just kind of randomly. Mm, First in the holes in my 8, and then all around the 8, the bigger 8 number on the background. I'm just using regular tacky glue to do this, but just be sure you glue them quite well, because we will add a lot of moisture on top of them, and if they are not glued well, they will just fall out when poured water over them. Some of the numbers are cut in halves, because I didn't want to waste a number if it should be covered by the pattern paper, and it took me a while to glue them all down, but it was just a kind of experiment for me to create a texture. And after I finished, I already liked how it looked all in white, and I could have leave it like this, but I wanted to work with colors and highlight this fun new texture of numbers. So this is how it looks when it's all finished, and honestly, really, it looks really great. And I am using those watercolor brush marker from Altenew. The color is called Emerald, but you can use any other kind of water soluble medium. It can be watercolors. You can use mists, but just pour them on like a glass or plastic surface and use brush to apply them. I used this watercolor brush marker because it was just the fastest way, and the color was just perfect of what I needed, because I had in my head this idea of combining emerald green and pink to create kind of a tropical page, because those were tropical themed birthday party. So this was on my mind, and this is where I was going with this process. And as I said, a lot of moisture. It's a clean water that I'm adding here to dilute the pigment, and as you can see, it stays in the middle of the 8 numbers in those holes, and around them it's kind of being sucked by the edges of the numbers, so it kind of highlights. It of course looks much better wet, because those watercolor type of mediums tend to kind of lose the saturation and juiciness of colors when they are dry. So this is how it looks when it's dry, and I am ready to glue down the number 8, but be sure it's all dried out. And to be honest, it's better to leave it to air dry than rush it to dry with heat gun, because it won't wave that much, and it's already a wet page, so it will kind of curl on the edges, but leaving it to air dry will kind of prevent of warping that much. I used this great white tape, foam tape from scrapbook.com to add dimension under my 8, and I'm gluing it down directly onto my background. And with kind of mixed media backgrounds, you have to be sure your glue or adhesive, like in my case, is really strong, because it may fall out with time. So if you are not sure if your foam will last, add extra glue underneath it, just to be sure that your page won't fall out, especially if you store them vertically. They kind of tend to fall down into pocket page protectors. So some elements are just ripped off and gravitation do its thing. So I have like main composition with 8 and picture done, and now I am cutting out some tropical leaves using pattern papers from Great Paper Collections. I don't recall exact name of this collection because I have like a mix of paper scraps of various kind of newish Great Paper Collections. I think this is the Sweet Story, and maybe some elements from Marigold or Heritage, because I'm just keeping them all together, because usually the Great Paper Collections can kind of complement each other, so you can use bits and pieces from one collection to add to the project from the second collection. And I cutted out some tropical leaves into shapes. Those are made with Heidi Swap set of dies, though she designed them for We Are Memory Keepers. And I am a sucker for tropical leaves, so I always buy dies with tropical shapes, and I had this set on hand, so I'm just arranging them in two clusters on the edges, no, on the corners, opposite corners of my background. And I will be using bits and pieces from the Sweet Story collection from Great Paper to embellish this page. This line is like one of my favorite because I just love those colors, like cute motifs and animals and everything. So I'm just going through all my ephemera pieces from this collection, and I'm picking the ones that might work for this page. So the ones on the top over the bowl are the ones that might match the collection, and the rest will be just put it aside. And this way I kind of limited my choices, which makes the process much faster when it comes to scrapbooking, when you limit your options. I'm arranging elements around my picture. I had this piece of emerald green acetate frame, cut it in pieces, so one is tucked in one side, and I was thinking about adding the second one on the second side, but then I decided it's just too much already. My leaves are still not glued down because I'm still working on if I want something in between the layers. So I'm just walking through the embellishments I have on hand, and I always, with each Great Paper collection, I always buy um, papers that I like. Not all the papers, but because usually not all the papers are my jam, but I usually try to focus on papers you can fussy cut a lot of elements from. So all the floral papers. I also like plain background, but those can be easily replaced by uh, just colorful cardstock, so I'm not buying that much of them. Plus, I always buy 12 by 12 chipboard stickers, 6 by 12 stickers, ephemera pack, and flower pack if it's included into the collection. I love those foam tickers or puffy tickers that come in the collection. And I love those sticker rolls that come two in one package, but they are very thin. So they are not easy to glue down with dimensional elements like foam or something. And you really need to be very careful while peeling them off because you can easily rip them in half. So those are the elements I always buy from each crate paper, not each crate, but from the crate paper collection I love, which is usually every collection. So I'm just those are the elements I'm buying always. Sometimes I buy puffy stickers if they are included, and I would say that's it. Sometimes the collection has like an extra element that wasn't in the previous lines, so I buy them too. But I never ever buy every item from the collection. Sometimes I feel like those charms, like metal charms, are just overpriced. We have 3 or 4 charms for $6 or $7, which is just too much for me. But the stickers, the ephemera pack is always for me personally worth the price. So I'm buying them with each collection. And of course, papers, sometimes 6 by 8 paper pack if I know I will be doing an album from the collection. So I'm buying 6 by 8 paper pad because it kind of makes spreads the collection much more than those 12 by 12 papers. And as I said, I love having papers where I can fussy cut, because like here I can fussy cut the tiger. I had a tiger in the sticker sheet, but I have already used it up, so I'm fussy cutting another tiger from one of the 12 by 12 pattern papers, and this way I spreaded the collection. Of course, it's not that stiff as it would be if it would be a sticker, but I can add some foam tape underneath, and it will be ready to go. This giraffe was also great for this tropical vibe, but it was too big. But I have ephemera piece, you can see it next to my layout with the small giraffe, and I will fussy cut this too, because I knew I won't be using this ephemera piece just like it is, and I can use it by fussy cutting element out of it, which is also kind of extending the products you have. You don't always have to use them just like they are. You can cut them in pieces, and this is what I like to do with elements that I know will be hard to use the way they are right now. So it's better to fussy cut element out of ephemera piece than do not use it at all. So I have a giraffe. It will also go into the composition, and I am almost done with embellishing my layout. Um, I don't remember, maybe, oh yeah, I added those roll stickers with fruits here and there to kind of bring the background to life a little bit more. So I scattered them around, and as I said, they are very, very very vulnerable for tearing, so be careful because they are really, really quite thin. But on the other hand, you have so many of them that you feel that you can scatter them around the background, and you don't feel like, oh my god, I won't have those pretty stickers anymore. So I also took dark green thread and stitched around 3 times the background, because I was feeling it was just too open. It needed something to close the composition, and I added the title. Well, it's like 8 is great, so the big 8 is part of the title, and I used stickers from my stash. I also don't remember which collection either are they from. I think it was Crate Paper Valentine's line, but not sure which one. And I'm finishing my page, adding smaller and smaller elements just in the spots where I feel it's a little bit too empty. I have to be careful because you still have to see the 8. So you have to still be able to recognize the shape. And the final touch is splattering the background and the 8 with pink and yellow mists. And that's it. This was like the final stage of the process. Of course, don't forget to cover your picture, otherwise it will get stained. And here it is, the finished page. I hope you liked this tutorial, and I hope you create your own version of birthday layout with numbers on the background. Thank you so much for stopping by, and see you on some other video. In the meantime, here are some other videos you may like from my YouTube channel. Thank you, and see you soon. Bye.